Sam Perry, welcome to Cook's Table Podcast. I'm so grateful to have you here today.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
We don't know each other super well, but I'm excited that we get this chance today to get to know each other a little bit better, have a conversation about something that's on many people's minds right now. Certainly, many people who will be listening to this are very curious about the AI space and just kind of the frontier that it is.
hmm
Looking ahead and trying to figure out what do we do with it? How can we apply it to our lives? And um, you and I are both kind of early stage entrepreneurs, young folks, kind of on the up and up. And when I saw your post on LinkedIn, I was just like, man, I need to know somebody like this. I just thought, man, this is really cool. This guy looks like he's legit. He looks like he's a great guy, and he is in a space that I feel like so many people need to know about and are hungry for more information on. And so grateful that you would take the time today, out of your busy schedule to be with us, and to share some wisdom with the audience. So maybe before we jump in, like to some of the nitty gritty, I'd love for you to just give an introduction of who you are, where you come from, maybe a brief description of your career journey so far and what you're up to now.
Yeah. So, Sam Perry from Charlotte, North Carolina. I have a beautiful, amazing wife of 4 years. 4 years this July. And we have an 8-month-old daughter named Riley, and we have a black lab named Cash, that we are very fond of. So, huge dog people, huge lab people around here. Yeah, grew up in a big golfing family. So grew up in the South, playing a lot of golf. Grew up hunting and fishing, and just kind of pressed into trying to figure out what I was going to do via the outdoors. It's looked like a little bit of everything. I started um, working in like turf grass, and I went to school for turf grass for a little bit because it was on the golf side, kind of. Both my brothers were professional golfers, and I was a little bit uh just adventurous. So for a lack of better term. So I was like, what can I do that's different? Should have taken the professional golf route. Who knows where I would have been. um
You said that your brothers are professional golfers.
they were. So I mean it's kind of like, there's mini tours, and obviously there's a PGA tour, and the PGA tour was where they aspired to be, but
Yeah.
it gets harder every year.
Okay.
Yeah. So they played mini tours. It was used to be called Web.com tour.
Okay.
Um, so they played those, and my second cousin is a professional golfer. He's on the senior tour, but he was on the PGA tour. His name's Kenny Perry.
Okay.
And yeah, so we just completely consumed with golf
Wow.
in my house growing up. So,
Wow.
anyways, but turf grass. Then I kind of moved into grading, and just like running equipment because I needed some quick cash, and I had some buddies that, um, let me work for them. So I started making some cash there, and yeah. Then I mean, I've done a little bit of everything outside, but I've also worked for a church, and I was a intern at a church for a little while, and then I worked for a project. I worked for a land development company as an assistant project manager. And while I was working for that company, a lot of things just kind of started making a lot of sense to me from a business side and from a personal side of just vocation. So at each job, no matter what it was, I learned a lot from each job. I learned a lot from each employer, each operation. And looking back, I'm able to see really how God used each job to teach me something new about myself and just about organizations in general, whether it's a church or a business. And something that I love as an individual is structure. So I enjoyed the operational side of businesses and making sure everything's flowing properly. And if something's not flowing properly, why is it not flowing properly? Can we fix that? So just the layer back behind all the work kind of is really what I like. And I really came to understand that pretty well at the last job I was at. And my boss, you know, he kind of encouraged that, and he's like, I can see that in you, and you've really grown a lot in this area. So about a year ago, I was trying some Airbnb stuff on the side, like trying to co-host Airbnbs, and I didn't have any experience. I didn't have any Airbnbs, and that was kind of the big kicker. People would be like, "How many?" Like I'd have a couple conversations, and people would be like, "How many are you managing?" And I'd be like, "Well, none right now. You'd be the first one," And it's hard to. They're like, "I don't really want to give you the keys to my property." So yeah, I reached out to a lot of people and learned something through the process. Also learned that it wasn't for me.
Mm,
Uh, but anyways, as I step back, I was trying to figure out what is what is my people throw the word calling around a lot, and that's not necessarily what I'm going to say, but what is the direction I should be heading? And so I always viewed it from a vocational side, like what should I be doing? And after I took a step back, it was more so what should my vocation be doing for our family? So that kind of just was a recentering that I came around. I've always wanted to be a husband and a father and a good one. So I have to make money somehow. So how can I do something that supports that role of husband and father well? And that kind of reframed like, okay, I think I'm geared to do something on my own. I think I'm able to do something on my own. And it's something around operations and helping businesses come to some sort of solution to their problem. Like this is just a vague overview. Um, and so it kind of sounded like small business consulting. And I was like, well, you know, I don't really know if that's it. And then I was using a lot of AI through the process. So uh, I started using AI when a lot of people started using it, just Chat GPT. And I started pressing it in different ways as I kept using it. At first, I was fearful, like a lot of people. It's like, what is this robot, that knows so much? Is it going to take my job? Um, but
totally.
so the more I started using it, uh, I started seeing the potential in it. And I was like, there is a happy medium here. If I think that I can start a business and I can help businesses in their operational headaches and pain points, AI seems like a great way to help people because I was using it to solve problems for us at the land development company that I was at. So just kind of in an analysis way and in a simple workflow way. Um, so I continued using it, and the company I was at unfortunately went bankrupt in April of this past year. And I had already started this business on the side. And literally um, the week that we got laid off, all the employees, my wife and I were talking, what does it look like for me to start this business full time?
Mm,
And we were having that conversation. 2 days later, I got laid off, and it was like, well, I guess this is what it looks like for me to start full
sure.
time. So
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily think that I was going to go get another job. I thought I was just going to, Lord willing, be able to create another job somehow.
Mm.
So that's kind of my backstory. That's where I'm at today. A lot more to it, but that's also probably a little bit more than you asked for.
It's
Um,
fantastic. No, that's great. Thank you, Sam. Yeah, that sounds like a really cool. I don't know how you feel about it, but very unique and cool upbringing with the golf emphasis. I wanted to ask, like, what was the reason why you didn't pursue golf? Like, was there a strategic move that you felt like you needed to make at that time that pushed you away from professional golf, or
um, I think back and I'm like, I would like to have a conversation with 14-year-old knucklehead Sam who's like, I'm not
sure?
going to pursue playing college golf and just kick him in the rear and say, you totally should. Like,
Oh
even if
wow,
it's at a small school or something.
yeah,
Um, but really, my middle brother was a student athlete, and he was like, "Dude, it's not what it's cracked up to be. It's a lot of work." And I had work ethic at a young age, but I was still like pretty selfish and lazy. So I was like, "What can I do that serves me?" And I was not a Christian, and when I became a Christian, my values kind of not kind of, entirely changed inside and out. So that work ethic that I had became even more, exponential.
hmm,
And so looking back, I'm like, man, I believe in, the providence of God. But if at that time I'd had a little bit more work ethic, who knows what could have happened. But
yeah.
yeah, I think about that a lot. That's a good question, Andrew. So
Yeah, it's
yeah.
just striking to me. You have, is it 3 brothers in the family, and that's all the siblings, or do you have a bigger family than that?
No, it's just me and my 2 older brothers. I'm the
Okay.
youngest, yeah.
Okay. Wow. And
Yep.
what about your dad or your mom? Were they in the golf scene, or was it just kind of like, oh, this is what we're gonna put our kids in? You know?
Yeah, my dad, my dad he's a traveling salesman, so he's a 1099 contractor. He works for a bunch of different golf apparel companies
Okay.
and, but he's always been a golf fanatic. He got a club in our hands as soon as we could walk, so really had no choice, but
Okay. You're gonna be a Perry. You're gonna be a golfer. Sounds like.
that's you sound like most of the people at the country club that we grew up at, so
That's so funny. That's great. What's your you mentioned the hunting and fishing too, right? What's your favorite, I don't know, thing to hunt?
Yeah, yeah, I love to bow hunt whitetail deer, so,
Okay.
I've done some duck hunting and dove hunting, and, there was a time where I moved to Texas and worked for a hunting outfitter. I got a
Oh, wow.
job. I pestered this hunting outfitter for he's a great guy. I still have his number, talk to him often, but I just started pestering a bunch of outfitters out west in like Texas, Oklahoma, trying to get a job with them. Like, hey, I'll come clean the bathrooms, like if you give me a job or whatever, so I could come hunt. And this was in an adventurous time in my life,
Hmm.
and so I pestered this one for like his name's Rustin, and I pestered Rustin for probably I don't know, maybe 4 weeks, like just repetitively. And finally, he was like, sure, like, I'll get on a call with you. So I got on a call with him and he offered me like just a little bit of money on a Monday. And I quit my job and moved out there on Friday just at the drop of a hat
Wow.
and worked for this hunting outfitter. And, that was back when I was searching for really a vocation. I was like, what do I want to do? Is it hunting? I love to hunt. Should I be a hunting outfitter? So I was really just searching for some sort of answer that I wasn't going to find in a vocation.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, so I love to duck hunt, but duck hunting around here is pretty tough. So I just stick to whitetail deer
okay.
hunting in
Okay.
North Carolina. That is.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm hearing themes already, even just with the little bit that you shared of, like just your ability to go get it, whatever kind of comes up on your view, even this idea of pestering these guys to go work for hunting outfitters, like there's some entrepreneurship there, like that I can see, just like the skills that it takes, the drive, the motivation that it takes to just go out and get stuff. Not everyone can do that. Um, and I think you already kind of alluded to the way that you kind of got thrust into entrepreneurship. But how long? I mean, were there other points along the way that you seriously considered, like doing your own thing before kind of the epiphanies you had at the project management job and the land development company?
No, honestly,
Okay.
I always thought that other people started businesses
Okay.
and it was just like, it was something other people did. And it was like, that's good for them. Yeah. So
Wow. Okay.
to answer your question, I didn't really
Okay.
think until I was in it. I was like, I guess this is what I am. But
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really cool. Is there now that you're in it, and you've kind of I don't know, come to a greater understanding of where you want to be and I guess what appeals to you about it the most? If like fast forward 10 years, you're still doing the entrepreneurial thing, you're achieving some of your goals, like what appeals to you about that lifestyle the most?
what appeals to the lifestyle or
I don't know, just anything. I guess the idea of entrepreneurship, the lifestyle that it creates. I mean, maybe I'm
well,
getting
if
some
the
answers wrong.
lifestyle is anything 5 years from now like it is as a startup phase, that one needs some changes. 'Cause
Facts.
I've never
That's
worked this
hilarious.
much in my entire life.
Yeah,
Um,
that's hilarious.
but yeah, I think I could relate it back to the what I said about, like, operations and how I like operations and, uh, being structured as an individual. I just genuinely I enjoy creating order where there is none, and I think that's, something that is just because I'm an image bearer of God. That's how He is, and you can, read Genesis and see that just as He created, uh, and all throughout, different places of the Old Testament, as He created order for things, and I enjoy creating order where there is none, and I think that there's a lot of opportunities within running a business, yes, but specifically a business that helps other businesses run
Mhm.
to create order and exercise that gift. Um, so I enjoy that. I enjoy helping people really more than anything. Like even right now, just helping people for free is it's enjoyable. I can't work for free forever, but
Right.
I enjoy genuinely helping people and seeing how maybe a perspective I have and a capability I have can benefit somebody else and, to provide value to other people as well. Uh, but yeah, I would say just being able to exercise that gift solely, for when I say for myself, I mean, just working for myself, my own
Right.
business.
Right.
Um, yeah, you could do that for other people. Not saying that's a problem, uh, but yeah, that's how I'd answer it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. I'm so curious, and I love the way that you said that you had what I'm hearing you describe about your journey with the development company and kind of the learnings that you had there and the way that you came to understand yourself, and the move that you made from kind of searching after. And correct me if I'm wrong, using wrong language, but the vocation question of like, what am I here to do versus almost like the pragmatic, like it was an I focus. I don't know, maybe an I focus more so of like what is going to satisfy and fulfill me versus what is going to be best for my family and my my future goals with them and being a good husband and father and that type of thing. I'd love for you to elaborate on that a little bit more. Like what exactly did you mean by that transition? What was that like for you? Um, yeah, I think it's really admirable, at least the way that I'm understanding it right now. So,
Yeah. So there is there's just something in us, and I think as humans that we we really do desire to give to other people. Even it's hard to think about and say that as broadly as I just said it because you can look at the world and see a lot of brokenness and a lot of evil and darkness. But I think overall, a lot of people do desire to give, and if they let themselves give more, and kind of suppress the innate selfishness that we all have, if you can put that aside and start giving more, there is something freeing about that. So I don't know necessarily how I'm trying to tie that into answer your question, but there's something that correlates there where instead of being me focused,
right.
like what do I want to do? What are my desires for my career? As all desires are not inherently evil, but just kind of shifting the focus to, okay, what would be best for this situation, being that I have a wife and a child and a growing family.
Hmm.
What are our goals? Kind of my wife and I aligning and saying, what do we really want out of life? We want to be able to glorify God by raising our children rightly, because it's a world that is entirely eaten up with teaching children in the next generation how to think, or excuse me, what to think, teaching them what to think. And that really robs them of the how to think.
Yeah.
So making that a goal for us to not just give money to our children, but time and attention to intentionally raise them in their foundational years. By the time they're 18, they need to be as prepared as they can for the world. And what they do after that is really their decision. We love them and continue to support them in the ways that we can, but uh, just having a mind shift of how do I want to make money to what kind of vocation would support the direction my wife and I are aligning on heading forward, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where we gathered. Yeah.
That's great. And you're on the right track in terms of what I was asking. I think give you a little more context too. I'm just fascinated by this conversation, particularly here, because I feel like, and this is I can speak from my own experience, and some of the even the conversations I've had with other guests along the way on this podcast. But it's my questions tend to be sometimes directed at like the cultural emphasis that we have, especially today, on like self actualization and work, if that makes sense. So like I want to be fully fulfilled in my work. I want to like find what my highest and best is in my work. And I'm not saying that's not important, like in some ways and in some measure, right? Like it is important to kind of align with your gifts and identify what you're really good at and lean into that. And I'm like super passionate about those things. But there's another part of it that I've been working through on my own on my own side of things, in my own journey, and I hear this coming through for you, is there's just a practicality about like prioritizing things outside of work and like truly thinking about the next generation, truly thinking about your family and um, aligning like putting your family goals, your marriage and your kids kind of at the top. Obviously, for those of us who have a faith in God, it's like God at the top, but like um, it's just it can be countercultural to put wife and kids up there at the top of that priority list as well in a society that glorifies work and success and achievement so much. And I find it to be, especially among entrepreneurs, to stand out, to have someone like you at this age be like, actually, I'm gonna like I'm what I'm doing with my work, it's all informed that my business plan and everything is all informed by my family goals ultimately, and that's just like I don't know if you see the distinction there, if I'm explaining it well enough,
Yeah.
but the distinction between building a business for the business itself versus building a business for the sake of your family and your wife and your kids and your legacy and your what you want to instill in your kids and that type of thing. I think it's beautiful.
Mm,
Just rare.
yeah, I appreciate you having that perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. It gets to the question actually that I had on here that I love to ask people related to Simon Sinek's book, Start with Why. And this is I joked with some of my older friends who are entrepreneurs, and they'll call me out as like that book is so Gen Z. It's such a Gen Z question. Start with why, like haha, like why isn't and it's the question is why isn't like your family or just your financial goals in life like why enough in some sense, right? um, and I'm not, again, I don't want to convolute the issue. I think there's value in all these different facets and emphases and different things. But for you, what I'm hearing you say is your why is like you put your head together with your wife, you figure out where your family's headed, what you want your kids to have at the end of their 18 years with you, and you kind of you orient yourself and your business toward that. Is that a fair statement as you think about that question? Start with why.
Yes, and just to circle back to the lifestyle, man, it's as a startup, it's hard to sit here and be like, okay, is this supporting what we think we're supposed to be
Sure,
doing
sure.
as I'm
Yeah,
working all hours of the day
yeah.
to get it going? So, um, but yeah, that's I guess that's just kind of the stage as a startup. But the goal is
Totally.
to yes, head that direction.
Yep. Yep. No, that's so valid, and also, yeah, so real that sometimes you scratch your head and you go like, is this really the path to take? Like, really? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. So, thinking about your journey so far and even the journey of figuring out some of these lessons along the way and direction and the project management epiphanies that you had and operations and stuff like that, what have been some of the influences other than the people you already mentioned, like your boss at the project management company or the land development company? What other influences, books, mentors, podcasts even, what have been super helpful to you that you could pass on to someone else who's listening?
Yeah, I think Every Good Endeavor by Tim Keller is a fantastic book.
Mm,
It just kind of reframes. I mean, it would be very applicable to a lot of the things that we've spoken of.
yeah.
Every Good Endeavor is good. I've had some really helpful people around me and books and podcasts, and yeah, we're in an age where you can find a lot of what you need online, but nothing beats the personal relationships with other people who are ahead of you, and people who have, experienced life. They might not be, if you're an entrepreneur, they might not be a business owner. If you're a X, they might not be a Y, whatever. So really just understanding that older people, I mean, where there's gray hair, there's wisdom in some way. Maybe not in every category that you're looking for, but wisdom comes from experience and just speaking with other people and asking them questions about life and just interrogating them every chance you get. Because, the wisest thing you can do is learn from somebody who's years ahead of you and hear them say, "Hey, don't do this." Like, you're going to waste a bunch of time if you do this. Like, listen
Mhm.
to what I've done and what I've learned. Um, so yeah, I've just had some really good people that I've been able to tap into and pick their brain about. So I would encourage anybody to, man, even if it's an email, don't think it's weird to reach out to somebody that's a dad or, 20, 30 years older than you and say, "Hey, you want to go get some coffee?" Like that's really not weird. And I don't know if people are doing that. They may or may not be. Kids our age, uh, just the younger generation.
Mhm.
Kids our age, I should say that. And now we're almost 30. Um, so,
Or,
but
unk status, as they say,
I
now. I don't know if you've heard
yeah,
that,
no,
but
I can't keep up with the terms. They move so fast. I'm like, today I was listening to a podcast today, and it was actually one of the head people at Anthropic talking about something.
Okay.
And, they're, I don't know, 50 years old, and they're using the term, what did they use? Cooking. They're using the term cooking. I was driving down the road and I was like, I hear this term everywhere. Who coined that term for the first time? Like, who made it the next best term to use? Or like, anyway, so I don't know where they originate from, but it's very interesting to me.
Yeah. Oh, that is so true. It's very funny. I've got 2 younger brothers, and my youngest brother, he's not that young. He's not that much younger than I am, like a couple years, but he's definitely more in that. That's my source, really, of
Funny.
jargon, of Gen Z
You get a
slang, I suppose, as they would say. So,
you get an
um,
update from him every month, like
yeah,
the
right.
top 3 words to
Please,
use in conversations this month.
please educate me. Please educate me. Yeah. That's funny. Let's move on to kind of the meat of what you're up to right now, which is diving into the AI sphere and space. And you describe yourself as a fractional chief AI officer, right, on LinkedIn. So, how do you describe what you do? What else would you add to that?
Yeah, so I position myself, that can be, my position. I think even simpler, it's an AI operations partner.
Okay.
So ideally, I want to help people with AI in their business because there is a ton of tools that you could go out there and buy. And there's a startup left and right who are, creating the next greatest tool. And it's hard for companies to understand, why did we think it was great to get this and now we're not seeing the results of it? So I think there's a lot of that around where they may have purchased a tool of some sort, or they may even just have the best ChatGPT or Claude subscription, and they're like, "What do you mean? I have AI in my business? It's just a chat bot. I copy and paste emails off of it and plug them into who I'm going to send an email to, or I have it analyze a spreadsheet and then I copy and paste that, put it in my Google Docs." Um, so I think there is a large gap between the correct usage of AI and what people are actually doing right now. I think there's a huge gap. Just for a little bit of like statistics, and this is just, you can fact check me on this, but this is as of the past week or two in property management, just industry that I'll use as an example. In the past year, they have adopted 3 times as much AI tools and AI in general, but only 8% of them have automated tasks with those tools. So, it's growing. It's changing every day. It's growing. People are like, "What do we do with AI? What running around like crazy? Like, do we need it? It scares me. Is it going to take my job?" And the truth of the matter is it's not going anywhere. It's we can't just flip it off. Like it's here to stay. So if that's the case, what do we do? Do we just let it run its course? Do we let, the business down the street adopt it and we'll just keep doing our thing and get, lapped by that business? And I think the better solution is, okay, how do we operate it? So I want to get in that space with people and just embed in their business, understand what are your goals, what are your pain points, and try to find where AI could work for them, and then build a specific solution for them, and then come alongside them after the fact and ensure that they're understanding how it works. And then, one day I can back off as a kind of a maintenance role and just kind of upkeep and answering questions, but a more intentional period up front, kind of building systems and somewhat consulting. Um, so, chief or fractional chief AI officer is kind of a lot. It's kind of a mouthful. So, AI operations partner is kind of just, I would love for people to trust me to help them with AI because I genuinely want to help people with AI. So,
Mhm, mhm.
yeah.
Seems like a lot of people are running around, just panicked, and they really just need the guide. They need someone who knows a little bit more than they do, maybe, has done the research, is familiar with all the tools, and can say, like, "Hey, I got you," like, "I've seen this before," you know? Um, so really cool to see how you're stepping into that. I certainly feel that pain myself as a business owner. So if you were to pinpoint something, that you see a lot, or just first comes to mind when you think about specifically, what do you wish more businesses knew about AI and automation? What are they
Hmm.
missing usually?
The AI that they have is not necessarily the AI that is going to, in most cases, just kind of, I'll revert back to what I said earlier. The AI that they have is not necessarily what's best for them all the time. Like if they just buy something because it says AI, or if they're just using Chat GPT. And this is not to say that no businesses are using it right. There are some that are using it right. But most of the time, it comes down to people literally have told me this, business owners have told me this. We don't know what we don't know. And that's
Yeah.
exactly the truth. Like, if you're not going to spend, I've been doing this for three months now. And, I'm pushing over 400-ish hours spending just embedded in AI, helping people with AI, but also using it, building things on my own. And if I told you that you could spend a 50-hour work week and learn this properly, would you take 50 hours to learn it for your business? I think that answer is, some people might pridefully say yes, but it's like, no, we can't because we don't have time.
Right.
So the gap is not really that there's accessibility to AI. That has been lifted. Everybody can do anything with AI nowadays. But until you know how to use it and harness it properly for your business, you really have no idea what it can do for your business. Because just having conversations with ChatGPT and, in the browser mode, and copying and pasting stuff back and forth, that's great. That's a great start. Um, but there's way more to AI than that. And I think a lot of people stop at that and they're like, yeah, well, I don't know, this is good enough.
Mm,
And there's way more on the table for a lot of business owners.
yeah. You mentioned fear. How do you cut through the fear that's involved with AI, and the fears that you talk with people about as you have client meetings, prospect meetings? What does that look like?
Yeah. I think there are people who are trying to do good with AI. And
Mm,
I try to circle around the point of, I'm a huge Anthropic proponent. Um, I like Anthropic a lot because of their mission statement and their values centering around security and safety. So that's I try to use Anthropic for just about everything and anything I can. I use other um, bigger umbrellas as well, but mainly Anthropic. I try to do everything through them because I understand. I've been in the seat of, should I even download ChatGPT? That was me a few years ago. I was like, is this gonna get a hold of my bank account? Is
yeah.
this gonna take my job? Like, it's the unknown. I totally understand it, but having a guide, kind of like you said, or my business mentor or referenced me as a Sherpa. I guess that's what it's called, a Sherpa,
Nice,
like a
nice.
tour guide. And I don't know if that's the right term or not. I just
No,
was
it
like,
is.
all right.
I think it is. They're the people that, like, take the tourists up to the top of Everest, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Sherpas,
So I
yeah.
mean, it creates a lot of fear because it's the unknown, and if you're not going to put in the time to figure out how to do it, there are people out there who can help you. I think finding the right person to help you is a huge pro. It's not just me. Like, there's other people out there that are trying to do it. Um, but it's moving so fast. I think that creates a lot of fear. People are like, oh my gosh, and I understand. I get it. Like that, even the people, if you've ever, I don't know if you've heard of the AI doc, but
Mm,
it's a documentary this guy made, and he just was like, "What is AI?" And he just started interviewing a bunch of people in the leading in the industry, and it exposes, I think, a lot of things that a lot of people are thinking, and it is very scary because it's like the great unknown. Um,
mhm.
but the more the more time goes on, the better it gets. And just like I said, we can't flip it off. So are we just going to cower in fear? Or are we going to figure out, no, if this is going to stay, we need to figure out how to use it.
Yep.
Like we need to use it safely. We need to use it properly. We need to figure out I'm a huge proponent of keeping a human in the loop of an AI process. So not just letting AI run its entire course and do everything, but if it can do 90% of the work and then it comes back to me and is like, "Here's what I did. Are you okay with this? This is the next step. Hit approve and I can push it forward."
Mhm.
Then you're able to, watch over it. I was talking to, funny enough, a software developer who's spent most of his career, programming. And I was talking to him the other day, and I was like, it's crazy because you probably have somebody who, as your code in the years as you've been coding and building, you've had a team lead of some sort who, watches over you and inspects what you're doing, from a higher level and asks the right questions and guides in a certain way. I was like, it's almost like you've been moved up to his tier because
Mm,
coding is, Boris from Anthropic says coding is solved. Like coding is, um, at a level that is just it's absolutely insane. So, um, for that to be the case, then my buddy who's a software developer, he has a different role in relation to coding now. Like he's to sit over his agents that are working for him and play the role of his boss in a way. So it's not removing jobs. It may remove a few jobs here and there. I mean, I think it may even be the wrong terminology. It's probably going to remove a few jobs, but just like um, when the printing press came out, uh, it increased distribution. So
yeah.
there were jobs within distribution, but there were less scribes. So I think there is some parallels where it's like, okay, we still need people in the industries that are using AI to be using AI properly and not just thinking, oh, it's going to take my job. Well, yeah, it might create another job for you though.
Right.
So yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that's fantastic. How close do you think we are to AI being in its final form? And the follow-up question to that is, what do you think AI looks like in its final form?
I would be a fool to try to answer that, Andrew. um, I really would. So I think I really think you have to have your hope placed in something else that is not earthly.
Yeah,
And because if you do, you'll think that it's going to lead us to utopia or it's going to lead us to destruction. So you have to trust in something greater than AI in this life here. But I do think AI is it's capable of doing things that we just have no idea yet what that looks
yeah,
like. And just in that statement right there, you can sense a little bit of unknown, a little bit of fear that could come from it. But if that is the case, and that's where we're moving, again, I circle back to saying we need to be involved in the process somehow
yeah.
at this point, not years down the road, like, oh, how did we get here? What's going like right now, we need to be involved in the process as much as possible.
Sure. Yeah. I was watching a Tony Robbins. Are you familiar with who Tony Robbins is online? Kind of motivational speaker guy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like really rich. I think he's a billionaire now. He's got many companies, but has dove headfirst in the AI world, and like he's a content creator and does these massive conferences and kind of mindset coach guru kind of guy. So I
Hmm.
see him on my feed a fair bit just because he is in the entrepreneurial space, and I've appreciated some of the things he said. But you never can trust exactly what's on your feed anymore, because AI can create a lot of these videos and can fool you. So like take this with a grain of salt. I don't know if it's even worth bringing up, but I figure maybe you have heard about stuff like this. But he was talking about a agent, I guess, that he has, that he's created on some level to be a personal, personal agent for himself, I guess. I don't know, but I'm reading between the lines of what he was saying. But he said apparently there's this place where the agents will go to talk to each other. This sounds so crazy. I don't even know if I should bring this up, but I just was shocked. I was like, apparently there's this place where the agents go to talk to each other, and they'll even to this point where they'll like exchange money back and forth, and they'll trade different things or whatever, right?
Hmm.
And so his Tony Robbins, this billionaire guy, he gets this call from his assistant one day, and it says, like, did you order this robot dog that showed up at the house just now? Like there's this robot dog, and apparently he had had a conversation with his agentic AI thing about getting robots someday, and like the AI asked him, "Do you want a robot?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'll get one when the time is right." Like of course I'm gonna get a robot. And turns out the AI had gone into the forum with the other AI agents. They had made some money together. He hadn't touched his bank account. They had made money together on the AI forum thing, and then he had bought the AI dog and had it shipped to Tony's house.
Hmm.
And so obviously, like it's so
If I have an
so
AI
insane.
agent buying stuff on my behalf, it's getting fired.
Okay.
So,
I was like so shocked. I can hardly believe it, and I don't know that it's true. But apparently the biggest concern with that was like, oh, did the AI agent touch my bank account? And it was like, no, he hadn't. At least as the way the story went and the video I was watching, it was like not touched the bank account at all. It had created its own money or value or something in another space and had bought
hmm.
the robot dog with that. So just wild. But
Yeah, I don't know really. I don't know. I'm sure there's some context I'm missing, but I don't know how uh that would be like to create that. I don't know what he's using, and I mean I
right.
have a few ideas, but I'm not sure. Like I'm not doing anything like that. I'm not
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not trying to do anything like that. I'm just trying to make people's lives easier, at
Right,
work.
right.
So.
I was just bringing it up as we think about future state AI and going,
Yeah.
I wonder if you've heard about any of that, but it's beyond our wildest comprehension in some ways, I think,
Yeah.
potentially, and who knows. So we'll keep we'll have to check back in with you in another year or two and see where
Yeah.
things are
Yeah.
at. But
Yeah.
um,
And I mean, some people, I'm not discrediting Tony Robbins at all, but I've just seen a lot of stuff that is, I'm not even saying this is what his video was, but I've seen a lot of fluff and hype, and it's hard
yes,
to, as you continue to see stuff, it's hard to figure out what's real and what's not, as AI is literally creating stuff, creating content in front of you nowadays, and you're like, I had no idea that was AI. So,
right,
not
right,
saying that's what he's doing, but just to the point that it's like, you know, you know what I'm about to say. Don't
yep,
believe everything you see. So that's
yep,
not for you,
yep.
that's for all of us. But
I recognize that, and yeah, that I certainly realize that I could have been getting the wool pulled over my eyes with some fantastical story there that was meant to be shared a billion times, which is what happened. I shared it, and I'm guilty now. But no, we'll see what happens. I was just curious. How about from a current tools that you use perspective? Like what we're currently seeing, what you're currently seeing in the market. What are the top 5 AI apps or products that people should be using every day if they want to become kind of AI savvy? How would you answer that?
yeah, to become AI savvy, I would say I'm gonna beat the Anthropic drum, but
Sure. Yeah.
Claude is great. Claude, has Claude for small businesses. It has Claude Cowork. You can hook it up to your Google Drive. You can hook it up to. There's multiple different connectors you can just simply hook it up to for somebody who's just starting out. Um, just and utilize. You can use ChatGPT. Just. Um, I say that in a way like it's bad. It's really not bad. I'm very biased about Anthropic, and that's no hate on OpenAI
Sure.
or any other company, but so yeah, just even within ChatGPT, Claude, some of the bigger names like that, creating a project. This is just stuff I love. If people are just using the normal chat and like pinning a chat at the top, that's good. It's good to start with. But even from there to take to the next step would be like creating a project. So over on the side, you have a projects tab, like you're giving a project a name and a task and a goal, and each you're feeding it as much information as you can. So those are simple. As far as AI apps, it really depends on what your goal is and what you want to do. You can get bogged down with a bunch of different tools and apps and stuff like that. And nowadays you can just create your own. Uh, anyways, it depends on what your goal is and what you're trying to do. But I would say just for the average goer, to make yourself as proficient as possible in Claude or ChatGPT or other um, user interfaces that have those project capabilities.
Hmm.
Um, really, just the best thing that you can do is learn how to think about AI properly. From my perspective, I don't know if other people would say that, but that's just how I see it. I think I was just with somebody before this call and just kind of helping him with a few things that I'd set up for him, and just noticing that a lot of the ways that I need to grow as a communicator, because I I would like to teach people in a way that they're able to use it and they don't need me anymore, because I think that's where it's really helpful. So
Yeah.
with that being said, that means I'm working myself out of a job, but that's okay.
Mm.
Um, helping people see it rightly, I think is the main thing. So if you have Claude, ChatGPT, those couple things as a starter, just using it as much as possible in a wise way to delegate and create, your coworker. That's really what it is.
Mhm.
Uh, so or your own employee. So how much can I push to this other employee, and training it like one as well. Like I need to train this user interface, this Claude or Chat GPT, in a project. I need to train it like I would train my personal assistant. Like, this is what you need to know. Here's all the documents you need to know. Um, yeah. So that's not a list of apps and stuff, but I think you can get bogged down with a bunch of apps and you can do a lot in just those two things that people are literally already using, just
Right.
using them in ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so I hear basically the best way to think about it is treat it like an employee. Are there other things you'd add to that as far as like when you say you just recommend people get good at or learn how to think about AI in the right way? Say a little
Mhm.
bit more about that if there's more to elaborate there. What else should people be doing when they open up Claude in the morning or they go to the work in they go to their workplace and they're like, how should I think about AI today? What else would you say in addition to train it and treat it like an employee, you know?
Yeah, geez. I mean, I'm not a philosophical AI guy. I don't mean to sound like one, but just really just learning to palm it like you would a basketball. So
Sure.
just the more frequently you can understand, okay, this this piece of technology, AI, is only as good as I train it to be. So if you're getting frustrated with how you're using AI, take a step back and look in the mirror and just say, how am I interacting with this? Because dude, I've been there, and I've in the past, I've been in places. I can remember multiple places along my journey, even before starting the business, where I was like, "AI sucks. Like it's not doing what I want it to do." And looking back, I just laugh and I'm like, "It's like you're the problem. AI is not the problem." Like it's because you're not giving it enough context. You're not explaining yourself, and you don't even have to use the like perfect wording. And it's getting so good nowadays that it's able to kind of close some of those gaps. But the more concise and detailed you are, the better it will work. But just misspelling a word here or there, or like not being clear, kind of redundant. Um, it's getting to where it can cut through some of those things. But the more you can be clear and concise and say, this is what you are to do. This is your goal. This is what you need to know. This is how you are to do it. This is not, do not ever do X, Y, and Z. This is what success looks like. Just kind of baking that into your own view of how you interact with AI. That's what I would encourage people to do. And that sounds like a lot. And it's like, okay, so every time I sit down, I need to think about, okay, what is the goal? What are the constraints? What is this? What is that? And it's like, you don't need to go study a bunch of prompts. Like, just start working that direction. And one day you will hopefully just be doing that normally.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then I guess the idea would be is as you give that context to the LLM and the user interface, it's like it will get better and better, and you might have to do that less and less depending on how repetitive the task is. I guess I would assume as well.
Right.
Um,
And I guess I would add to apps like, nowadays, uh, depending on how much you use Claude, just going in and connecting to something like a Zapier, or if you go that far, like an N8N, um, just using some of these workflow tools that you can use alongside of or connect to from Claude, or those are little things that I think. Well, I say little things, but those would be kind of big things for people to start doing, but
Mm.
they would definitely help, and depending on what you're trying to do inside of a business or whatever workflows you're dealing with.
Yeah. Okay. When you think about AI for business, what is a use case of AI in business that you're seeing is just wildly underutilized right now that more people should be using, and maybe beyond just the way that we just talked about it, like with the LLM, user interface. What's maybe an advanced, like slightly more advanced use case?
Yeah, so I think some of the some of the ways that I'm um interacting with AI and building different things. I I've just noticed how good of a researcher and analyst that different agents can be in their specific lane, and passing that information to other agents. No, it doesn't look like buying a robotic dog. Um, but just and there's responsible ways about making sure that you're in the process as well. When agents hand off information to each other, I'll try to not get technical here because I could really cause more harm than good, I guess.
Sure.
But anyways, so the handoffs between agents, making sure that, you're having this agent go research X, Y, and Z, and it gets to a point and it comes back to you, and your approval then, sends it to another agent, and that agent's role is to take that information and do, A, B, and C with it. And then so just certain workflows like that, what that looks like getting worked out for different verticals or different industries. You're asking for a use case. I have some things I'm working on for different people where they deal with, they may deal with 10 or 15-hour tasks, just deep research to get them to a result where they're then pursuing a project based off of the research that they've done
Mhm.
to acquire a new client of some sort. Um, And if I can take that 10 or 15-hour process and turn it into a 30-minute or an hour-long task,
Right.
that looks like success to me.
Mhm.
Um, I hope that looks like success to them because maybe they're able to go home earlier, or, maybe they're able to maybe the result is they're able to go on vacation and they don't have to worry about things getting done. So not necessarily saying that they're not involved, but that's a trickle down effect. When you start reducing time and you start reducing cost, it's not like we have results after the first week, but you may feel a little bit after the first week. And then, after a month or two, you're like, okay, I can really see the traction picking up here.
Mhm.
And, work doesn't look like it used to look. So, uh, if that answers your question.
Yeah. So a lot of research, research functions that can be made more agentic, I guess, is what I'm hearing you
Yeah,
say.
and that may just be my answer based off what I'm working on right
Sure.
now. But yeah, integrating that in different apps for people, apps like specifically built for a business that, an enterprise would charge them 100 plus $1,000 for. And they're like, shoot, I'm not spending that. Nowadays I can build something like that for a different price.
Yep. Yep.
And they can get a similar result.
Um, I also saw on your website there are several like sales workflows and different things, that you've incorporated. Would those be other underutilized AI use cases as well? So like follow up with or responding to reviews or those types of things.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, those are, I think, at nowadays, those are somewhat commoditized, I
Okay.
think. But those are definitely doable. I don't want to undervalue them. Like
Yeah.
setting up some sort of uh, cold email pipeline for somebody or for myself, or a follow up process where when you're dealing with sales, I think sales work best personally, as I'm learning that and you're learning that as well.
Mhm.
But there are ways that when work flows throughout a company and there's follow-ups like, "Hey, this usually lives in so and so's head," or "This usually sits on so and so's desk." I'm not saying, that's necessarily the case, just using that as a reference, but, um, follow-ups between workflows when you're waiting on somebody else's response, I think it works great there, pushing information along through a company. For instance, I've mentioned project management. Um, Project management companies deal with a ton of follow up. So, whether it's maintenance requests, new tenants moving out, there's a lot of information that's getting passed around. And if somebody quits or is sick or is bogged down by all the other follow ups they're having to do, there's follow ups that slip through the cracks. So, uh, not necessarily removing people from the process, but making it to where there is less to do, so they're freed up to do what they actually need to do.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I have an example I'm thinking of where there's an individual who he has to do, a ton of research, and I'm working on something for him that it alleviates his research time, and what he's really good at is in person trying to pursue these clients that are on the backside of all the research.
Got it.
So he struggles to get all of the in-person stuff done because he's trying to deal with all the back end stuff. So if I can help him with the back end stuff, it frees him up to do what he's actually good at. So yeah, that's
It'd
I
be
like
like,
to try to.
and yeah, to make that hyper practical, what I'm hearing you say with that particular example would be like where he has a prospect he's hoping to see in person, but he's got to get some idea of who he's going to talk to. I'm just imagining how
Exactly.
this plays out in real life. It's like
Exactly.
he's got to figure out what the background is on this person he's about to talk to, and what the agent would do in theory is go in and do all that work for him, print out a short summary, and be like, here you go. Is that
Yeah,
kind of
and to
what you're
find
saying?
business or whatever the goal is and whatever the product is
Right.
to do the research in that way to prepare them properly. Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Um, Information security. That's a big one. We already talked about, the fears related to AI. I feel like that's a big one of the fears, but particularly with the information security, what have you learned about that in the past, few months? And how would you, yeah, talk to someone who's skeptical about, connecting it to their Google Drive or connecting it to other parts of their computer, or, um, just, yeah, especially for people who deal with confidential client data as well. Like, what have you come across related to that, and how would you help people with that question?
Yeah, so I'm still learning a lot about compliance, and some of the people that I've done work for, it's more so been on the front side of the building,
Mhm.
how much safety can I build in as we go?
Yeah.
And then when it comes to the compliance stuff in like the last mile, that's where I'm still trying to figure out who can I go to ensure that this is being done correctly. And I have some good resources around me of people who have built some things that have checked those boxes before and have dealt with security and compliance. So I'm able to, lean pretty heavy on them and say, here, I'm at this point in the process. Can I get some help? Can I make sure that this is wrapped up properly and safely? I haven't dealt with a ton of people where I've had really heavy um, confidential stuff.
Yeah.
So there may be like I haven't done much in like healthcare or wealth management, anything like that. So not saying I couldn't, but if I got to that point, I definitely have people that I would rely on for that. But up until this point, the things that I have done, I've been able to just rely on some of the people around me to help with that. So
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, obviously a developing story as it goes. What is
Yeah.
as you think about Edge Solutions, which is the name of your company, what's next? What's next on the horizon for you as you look to the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah. So just to circle back to your last question, also, like I've said a lot, like keeping a human in the loop is, I think, one of the biggest things. And
Mhm.
so I try to reiterate that everywhere I go,
Yep.
and everybody I talk to. So, Edge Solutions in the future, uh, you said the next 6 months, is that what you said?
6 to 12. Yeah.
6 to 12 months. Wow, who knows? Who knows? So I would like to it's hard for me to pick a niche right now. I would like to stay as horizontal as possible just because I think there's at this point it's like there's so many different people I've helped and so many different cases I've come across where I see AI fitting properly. So staying horizontal has been something I've tried to do, but it's also harmed me in some ways without picking a niche. So somewhere in between, uh, staying horizontal and something like commercial real estate property management is kind of, uh, some sort of rough goal as far as the direction,
Sure.
at least over the next 6 months. 12 months, man, who knows? It's so hard to see that far out, and in the startup phase, it's like, "Okay, gotta survive another day," you know?
Yep. Yep.
So, but, ideally, I would like to get to a point where I could hopefully hire somebody else to help me do this, and that would definitely include a thorough type of onboarding because this is I'd like to find somebody doing what I'm doing, but at this point, the people that are doing it are doing their own thing, or they're not doing it the same way that I would because they're just doing it to make a bunch of money. Because you can make a lot of money with AI very fast, if you haven't seen yet. So that's not necessarily my goal. So finding somebody with the same values and with the same drive to genuinely help people with AI would be. It seems kind of tough right now.
Mm.
But as I've gone, I've even started baking in to my processes like, okay, I need to save this for onboarding. I need to save this for onboarding. I need to create this onboarding process. So that would be fantastic to be at a point where I need to hire somebody else and then
Mhm.
being able to hire somebody else in a year. I'd say that's not very overzealous, but maybe something like that. So
Mhm. Mhm. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm excited to see where things head with this whole venture, and cool to hear what you're up to. Cool to hear that, and also realize that there's maybe not a lot of people who are doing it exactly like you are. So hopefully people can look into you more. Where can they find you if they're interested in your work, Sam?
yeah, so my website is www.edgesolutions.pro. You can find me on LinkedIn, and my email's on my website and should be on my LinkedIn as well. I spend most of my time just refining my website to make it easy for people to, just glance at and see there. I don't do a ton of social media content. I do some on LinkedIn, but yeah, I'd rather do enough to ensure that I have a presence, but also, social media can take a lot of your time. So
Yep.
right now I don't have a lot of that to spare. So yeah, just email or website mainly, a little bit of LinkedIn.
It's great. It's great. Any last words you'd like to leave with the audience before we say goodbye for today?
Yeah, I would say, you know, AI is something that you probably need to press into and is something that you need to figure out how to use, and neglecting it is an option, but it might not be the best option.
Hmm,
So,
it's
yeah.
good. Thank you, Sam. Thanks for the time today. We'll look forward to catching back up with you in future time period as things grow. So.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.